reaching 104. Turning mostly cloudy overnight, the low 73. Then sunshine returns for Saturday, the high 95 with a heat index of 103. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
I wish politicians would look out for miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the whole beast milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men,
am I supposed to start talking now? It's
Okay.
11:05 on WSIC News Radio, and you're listening to We're Just Sayin with Vickie Lynn and David.
Hey,
if you'd like to be part of our show, let me do my intro.
Okay, yes, sir.
844-STUDIO-4. If you'd like to be on the show, we are streaming live on the WSIC News Facebook page as well as YouTube. Vickie Lynn, how are you doing today?
Vickie Lynn is coming in strong.
You
I'm
are
coming in hot.
strong. For those who don't know, Vickie Lynn chose our intro music to
I
start
did,
today.
and I hope many of you will choose to listen to that song today if you haven't already, like my co-host David Coble. I mean, I used to think you were cool. Today, I'm questioning that.
It's fair. It's fair. The criticism obviously is warranted because I have no idea what that song is. I had never heard it before. But you apparently, in lieu of show prep, stayed up till 1 a.m.
I did.
listening to that song.
I did, guys. So we're talking about the song by Oliver Anthony, who's I guess truly an overnight sensation. Richmond, north of Richmond, and it is really struck a chord with most everybody who actually knows the song. I may have ordered a sticker.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
You struck a chord. No pun intended.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's just like this breathy, wonderful, just an anthem about the problems and issues that folks are facing each and every day in their life. I mean, you know, he goes on, and the thing is about actually just it's a theme song against politicians, and I actually was set up at 1 o'clock last night thinking about how I didn't like myself after I heard that song. I was like, oh.
So there was it was a song that sort of invoked deep reflection on your part.
Yes, you know what it does. It absolutely does. So I hope you will take time today, David Coble, to listen to the words in that song. It is. Especially from a man from Candler, North Carolina, you will understand the folksy blues of that.
Now,
tune.
I do enjoy a good folksy blues.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, as a boy who grew up in Candler, North Carolina, I do enjoy good bluegrass, folksy music.
Yeah.
I've spent my time at the Dixie Stampede down in Pigeon Forge, so I'm back to my roots, so to speak, when I listen to that.
He does. They're one of the songs part of the song that really gets to me is he basically is just saying that politicians are. Just using and abusing people, and his dollar ain't blank, and he's working for overtime, and it just hits that chord of discontent that I think a lot of folks are feeling here, not only in North Carolina but across the nation, about working hard, coming home, drinking away your blues, and then getting up again the next day and doing it over and over again. And so it's just been it's a sensational. It's #1 on the billboards, like an overnight sensation, and. He recently had found God, and it's just a really good story. So I'm excited. I think I'm overselling it to you, though. I think you're not really going to like it.
I listened to the intro, obviously, and again, I enjoy a good folksy twang. So, but I will definitely as show prep for next week.
Yes,
I will listen to it and get the underlying deeper meanings and everything like that to come in for in-depth discussion with you next week. I will commit to do that if you will commit to actually putting in a little more effort next week into prep for our show.
I will, and I am so sorry about that. I just got swept away, and quite frankly, I was just watching other people's reactions to the song, and it just is very, very moving. But anyways, speaking of moving, last week I'm so grateful that you had Robbie Carney in here and picked up my slack again.
That's quite all right.
Yeah.
I explained to your devoted audience that you were in fact doing TV. You've graduated from I have, like I say, I have the face for radio. You have the face for TV. So I will pick up the slack whenever needed. But no, it was a great discussion about economic development and sort of what how communities can look at economic development, how you get quality economic development, how you are really proactive in your management of how you want your communities to grow. which obviously is key for pretty much everywhere in your district right now, because you have a Senate district that really its growth really up and down the board, up and down I-77 for you.
Right, absolutely. And one of the bills that we'll get into a little bit later is that the governor vetoed, and that was another thing hard to watch. That was emotional for me to watch, is listening to his veto statement on the election bill that we had passed. But the other bill that we had passed about the boards and commissions is to basically take away the board appointments for the Department of Transportation and not so heavily be in the governor's purview, and actually give it to the General Assembly so that we can start addressing things through direct appointments from the General Assembly, so that people can have a little bit better voice on transportation. But yeah, you're right. It's not economic development all up and down I-77 is a big issue. And we can tell the same story that almost any suburban area tells all over North Carolina. Thinking of like Apex and Morrisville, not Mooresville.
Yeah,
but we all have the same issues. We have folks, farmland is disappearing and concrete buildings are going in and face to that. And how do we, as, policymakers, figure that out? And how do you get the right type of development? So I was really grateful for Robbie Carney talking about that, because it was just like, it's thoughtful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was thoughtful and very deliberate, and it was a good behind the scenes look on how economic development actually works here.
No, it absolutely was. But you actually, obviously, there's things still going on in Raleigh, still waiting on finalizations of budgets and everything like that.
Drama.
But a lot of some articles that came out, I guess earlier this week and last week, casinos, gaming getting a lot of attention inside the news. There have been, there was a news article that came out sort of highlighting, I guess it was an original draft of the bill and considerations dealing with casinos, really targeting, 4 casinos, placing them in rural areas for the purposes of economic development. But one of the interesting things about it, a couple of the counties identified really have started coming out saying, no, we don't want this kind of economic development. So talk a little bit about sort of the gaming, and from the Senate standpoint, obviously we've heard some about it on Representative Sayin show. From a House standpoint, talk to me a little bit about the Senate and sort of what the thinking is behind the casino gaming.
Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity for that, because I don't know that the Senate has a position. I know that we have been educated a little bit about the amount of money that can be drawn into North Carolina because of the casinos. There is, this push and pull about casinos actually are economic development, because you will have people who come in and have high paying jobs and work in the service industry. And the thought of these casinos as being something that you just see like Atlantic City or something like that, it's not those type of venues, right? These are high quality, very strategically placed and developed, properties that will absolutely transform, certain areas. And the thought is that in those rural communities that would not be able to attract business otherwise, a casino would be something that would be able to do it. Now, you asked about the Senate position. I don't know that we really have a collective Senate position. I know that we have consternation on both sides of it. Some folks, and Senator Berger has been very open about being pro casinos, specifically about the economic development portion of that in those rural counties. However, in his own county, Rockingham, the county commissioners were voting to allow for a parcel of land to be rezoned that could possibly be a casino. It wasn't for casinos, but just changing the zoning on that. My understanding from the news article is that they had many people come out against the casinos. There were 6 different rooms, overflow rooms during that meeting, because they couldn't fit so many people in there. It's just they voted to approve it. But obviously in that community, it's not well received. So how is this going to work? I just don't know.
Well, and it's interesting because I think, it's new for North Carolina. Obviously, the debate was had when we brought the lottery in. Debate was had when we brought sports betting in. Casinos obviously are another sort of step in that direction. And so it's going to bring the same, type of arguments, debate, and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out.
Absolutely.
You're listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio. We'll be right back.
All right. Do you want to do it again?
More We're Just Saying with NC Senator Vickie Sawyer is coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing at Kane Center for the Arts Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 fall season. Buy your tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Happy birthday, Huntersville! Celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday this Saturday. Primal in Huntersville will have live music, food trucks, and special deals all day on August 26th. Huntersville is 150 years old, and you should celebrate at Primal off of Highway 115 in Huntersville. It is one of the last couple of weeks to enjoy open swim at the Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Thursday, August 31st is the end of the swim season at Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Swim up an appetite with the whole family and enjoy Kerrigan Farms Farm-to-Table Restaurant. Kerrigan Farms open swim at the quarry. Enjoy it before the end of August. Love cycling? Love supporting veterans? Purple Heart Homes presents Take That Hill. Sign-ups are open now. The event is Saturday, October 7th. It is a great way to support a local organization focused on veterans. Take That Hill, presented by Purple Heart Homes. For more info, visit bikesignup.com. Eli Yacinth Band is playing this Friday, August 25th at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Enjoy a great show with a full 9-person band. Have a full night of jazz music with the Eli Yacinth Band. Friday night at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Holly Vale with your WSIC forecast. Mostly sunny today with a high near 94 and heat index values as high as 102. We'll have a slight chance of showers for this evening with partly cloudy skies and a low around 73. Mostly sunny and hot for Saturday with a high near 95 and heat index values as high as 103. Possibility of showers for Saturday night with a low around 70. I'm Holly Vale from WSIC's Weather Center.
Now, more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vickie Sawyer on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Now that's what I'm talking about. That's how we roll. That's how we roll. Welcome back to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio with Senator Vickie Sawyer and David. Like to be part of our show, 844-STUDIO-4. We are streaming live on the WSIC News Facebook page as well as YouTube. And I did forget to mention at the top of the show, you know, because of the music and your devotion to it, that we are live from Studio C for Coble. I forgot to mention that.
Yes,
you know, there's major sponsor dollars involved in that. But it's interesting. You and I were just talking in the break, and you were pulling it up. The Trump has, former President Trump has made a triumphant return to the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, with his mugshot. And I just laugh because it seems to me with every indictment and him coming, I mean, regardless of how you feel about the charges, regardless of how you feel about Trump or anything like that, he does have next level troll game.
He does.
He really does. And coming back to X or Twitter, just announcing, hey, I'm returning, and here's my mugshot. Yeah. It's like it shows you this is how unserious I take all of this, and how unserious you should too. Yeah. It really is next level. I mean, you got to appreciate it.
I was just looking. I love his mugshot. I mean, it's historic. We have never had a mugshot of a former president in history, and it's Donald Trump.
It is.
I mean, you thought
and
it
it's
would
like,
have been
and he
Clinton.
embraces it. You would have thought.
I mean, you really thought it would have been like maybe a Clinton or some other nefarious president in the recent memory. But
well, to be fair, you don't want to be the person that takes that shot of Clinton. Bill or Hillary, because you'll get Epstein in that situation. Epstein didn't kill himself. I'm just saying.
You're just saying.
I'm just saying.
Well, if you'd appreciate this song at the beginning of it, they have an Epstein reference. it's about miners on an island. So,
they do. It's like that song's just got all things to all
it's
people.
That's the only research I did for the show today, so that's what we're going to continue talking.
So
No, but
did you spend some time watching the president on when he was live on X with Tucker Carlson or the Republican debate?
A little bit, yeah, I did. But for the most part, I kind of tuned out because I felt like it was political theater for the most part, and I'm just really interested in policy anymore. And so I did see some snippets and stuff, and I know Chris Christie had a kind of a back and forth with Vivek, or now I'm saying that wrong. Vivek. Vivek Ramaswamy. I got the last name right, right? Vivek. Okay, yeah. And so I know there was some back and forth and some Twitter fodder. I will say that I did think that I know folks who think that Vivek is a conspiracy theorist and hard right winger, and but he does make some really good points on some things that make you think, and he says things that haven't been said or thought through in a long time, and so he's actually refreshing. But we just had a Civitas poll come out. So Civitas is a conservative think tank here in North Carolina. They merged a while ago with the John Locke Foundation, so they're a policy think tank that leans conservative, and they just did a poll, and actually agreed. 74% of North Carolinians want to see somebody other than Trump and Biden in the White House. And David, I don't know how you feel, but I just am kind of, I don't know if it's like a COVID hangover over all that stuff or what. I appreciate President Trump. I kind of am in that 74% range.
I find myself there, as well. And you brought up, Vivek. He's very eloquent. He's very engaging. He's got a great story from coming from an immigrant family and building a business and really becoming a huge success. He's sort of filling what I call sort of that Ron Paul void, where, Ron Paul for years, while he had some kooky things, a conspiracy theorist thing out there, his comments on monetary policy, his comment on debt, his comment on the feds, prove prescient in many instances and touch into, real concerns that people have on deeper policy issues. But I do think that, I find myself in that 74% as well, but I think we're all going to be disappointed.
I know.
Because it barring something really, just sort of, out of the ordinary, that will be it looks to be a rematch. But, I watched some clips of the debate and stuff like that. I think there's 2, maybe 3 people on that stage that could reasonably, be seen as, a potential, candidate for president. But I don't know that, what?
You're a huge Nikki Haley fan.
I love Nikki Haley.
Actually, you and I went to her book signing.
Yes, we did.
We did. She came
I invited you to that.
Yes, you
because
did.
I said, you need to come to this with me. And no, I'm a huge Nikki Haley fan.
And you fangirled over Nikki Haley. So how do you think that she did?
I thought she did fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Nikki Haley is she's got a great policy knowledge. She's eloquent, but the challenge here's the problem is there are probably 4, 5, 6 candidates on that stage that could beat Joe Biden in a general election but can't make it through a Republican primary.
Right.
And that's the sad part right now in my mind, because President Trump has that dedicated 30 to 33% of people that will not under any circumstance vote for anybody else. And that number seems to be growing. The more Democrats go after him, the more rogue DAs go after him, the more that he is persecuted, if you will, by the system, by our system of governments in these states and at the federal level, the more popular he becomes. People, will say, hey, you know what? I may not be thrilled with the guy, but this is wrong.
Right.
This is wrong. And I'm going to voice my thoughts on how this is wrong by voting for this guy and supporting this guy. And so, but I think reasonably, I was not overly impressed with DeSantis. I didn't think he had a great. He makes good points and things like that, but he was a target up there, and it makes it tough with that many people on stage and everything. I thought Nikki Haley was very good. I will continue to think Nikki Haley's very good, and really hope for an opportunity for her to be on the national stage on the ticket, because I think she would be a fantastic president.
Yeah, and she's proven her, her leadership both as the governor of South Carolina and then when she was served in the Trump administration. So she's absolutely impressive. Ron DeSantis to me is just a juggernaut as far as a governor is concerned, and I really do hate that the oxygen feels like it's just been sucked out of his campaign lately. I just feel like it's a rudderless boat at this point. But he has, transformed Florida. Like, so when he was elected, first time he was barely elected, right? It was by the skin of his teeth that he got in. And then the second time he got elected, he did something that like does not happen, which is flip Miami-Dade to Republican. That doesn't happen. That would be like us flipping Charlotte Mecklenburg to vote all Republican for a governor. And that is just a testament to his leadership and his style and his ability to not only mobilize the vote, but to speak to people and do it well. I just hate that he has not gotten more of track record on the national scene. And I think sometimes maybe Ramaswamy is one of the ones who is taking away some of the thunder from him, because he is basically saying the same things that Ron DeSantis is saying. And but we'll see. But you're right. The more they persecute Trump, the better the polls.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And I think that, in some polls he leads about 40 points over the rest of the field. Now, to be fair, if you took everybody out of it and had one, the field is shaping up very similar to the way it did the first time he won. The Republican primary was, there were so many in it. And by the time everyone eventually got out, they're just, all the sport had just swung the other way. And it's setting up very similar to that similar that same way. You are listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News. We do have a caller here for Senator Sawyer. Hi, you're on with Senator Sawyer. Good morning. Oh, no worries. Brian will be coming on momentarily.
Okay, very good.
But no, I think at the end of the day, I think we'll see a situation with the Republican primary where a lot of these also-rans will get out. I mean, there's some people, the former governor of Arkansas, for example, no business up there. Yeah. But Brian, we do have Brian now. Hi, Brian. You're on with Senator Sawyer. Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Doing good.
Hey,
how are you?
Good morning.
Good. I just wanted to thank Miss Vickie. I'm on the Iredell County School Board, and I had a concern and contacted her office, and in no time they contacted me, and Miss Vickie met with me, and good conversation. And I just want to publicly thank her.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I enjoyed our coffee and your dedication to our students and school system. So thank you and congratulations on a smooth beginning to the start of the school year.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
Thank you so much for calling.
Y'all have a good day.
Thanks for calling, Brian.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because we were, you talk about the Republican field and how it shapes up. We'll need a lot of those people will have to drop out soon. I mean, you really need before New Hampshire, stay in through Iowa if you really feel the need, and then get out. Go sign your cable news.
Are you going to tell Nikki Haley to get out?
No, because she'll still be there. See, here is my prediction.
Okay,
I have a prediction for you.
Okay, I'm here.
I see a path where realistically, I think Nikki Haley, of everyone on that stage, I think Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are the only viable people who could potentially unseat Trump. I firmly believe that. Ron DeSantis won because he has such a profound national, such a huge national profile. But he and Trump occupy some of the same space. Nikki Haley, as a former governor, as a woman, as a minority, I think fills a space that can appeal to a lot of people. And I think I think one of the things that I noticed from a lot of the debate was she comes across as the adult on the stage. She comes across as the thinker. She comes across as the one who can pat all these guys on the head and say, "Oh, come on, boys. This isn't the way this goes," right? And there is a spot to be filled. And I see an avenue to where if things split the right way, and again, there's a lot of if and if, you could see Nikki Haley theoretically win the first three presidential primary states. She's spending a ton of time in Iowa. I mean, a ton of time in Iowa. And the Iowa caucus is always surprised. They just do. The people down there just always surprised. Iowa, New Hampshire goes its own way all the time. I mean, New Hampshire's always sort of a little bit, live free or die. They go their own way. And then you've got South Carolina. South Carolina, I think, would be a key. It would be tough for her to win that one. We back? South Carolina, I think, would be key because Tim Scott.
Right.
And I think he's very popular down there. She was a popular governor, so it'd be tough for her to win that. If Tim Scott was not involved in South Carolina, I think you could see the first three go to Nikki Haley. Yeah. But again, that's just my initial thought on it.
That's just your blind love for Nikki Haley.
It is my blind faith, political club. Yes, absolutely. and there's no shame. No shame, because I think she's awesome. I think she'd be great. But again, the likelihood probably fair to slim. But if it happens, that news broke first on this show.
Okay,
you heard it here first, all right?
Okay, good to know.
You're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie Sawyer on WSIC News Radio. We'll be right back.
We're Just Saying with NC Senator Vickie Sawyer will return after this short break on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. Faced with an ongoing challenge that affects close to 20,000 Iredell County residents, the Iredell County Health Department and United Way of Iredell County are joining together to combat food insecurity to ensure everyone has access to food and knows where to find local resources. The website, iredellfood.org, is where you can go for all the details. And a man was found dead this morning in Johnston County after a hit and run on U.S. Highway 70. The State Highway Patrol is asking for the public's help to find the person or persons responsible. Around 1:20 a.m., the SHP said a man was hit by a car near U.S. 70 Business in Wilson's Mills. The SHP said the man appeared to have been run over by at least one vehicle, which did not stop. No arrests have been made. The investigation is ongoing. Now, sports with Joe Berg.
Tonight, the Carolina Panthers take on the Detroit Lions in the final preseason game of the year. And on Saturday night, NASCAR Cup Series action from Daytona for the final race of the regular season.
WSIC weather, another scorcher, sunny, hot 97 with a heat index at 104. Turning mostly cloudy overnight, a low of 73, then sunshine returns for Saturday, a high 95 and a heat index at 103. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Where the story goes, we follow.
This Disney issue was front and center in the election in Central Florida, so for them to try to do an end run around the people of Florida just shows how arrogant they are.
The headlines that hit home.
There was a pretty strong tornado just southwest of us here in Norman. It started maybe around 20 miles southwest of us.
We're making sense of it all.
The war in Afghanistan was, in the words of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a strategic failure.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Black Powder Coffee is celebrating their 10th anniversary with a medium dark roast blend of Indonesian and South American coffee beans. Enjoy the full-bodied natural flavor notes of chocolate with a bright finish. Get Black Powder Coffee's new anniversary blend today at Black Powder Coffee, 261 Rolling Hill Road, Mooresville, or participating retailers everywhere. Black Powder Coffee.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. I gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With us, 40 days of consistency. Oh no, Febreze car clips right on your bed. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
The extracurricular activities, the traffic, the nightly homework, the traffic, the finding time to eat dinner together as a family, the traffic. Back to school can be stressful. Thanks to Ziploc, meal prep doesn't have to be. New Ziploc bags with Stay Open design have a patented stand-up bottom that helps keep the bag upright and a top crease that folds and holds for easy filling, unlocking a second set of hands in the kitchen. If only it unlocked a second set of lanes. New Ziploc brand freezer and storage bags with Stay Open design from S.C. Johnson, a family company.
It's always great to have the right tools and supplies when working outside. Little Shavers Wood Shop is ready to help. Little Shavers has all your wood, treated lumber, wood fencing, and all the treatment items to keep them looking great. PVG paints and stains, and add in some pine needles and Daddy Pete's mulch and soils, and your landscaping will be the best around. Head on over to Little Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Highway, right in between Statesville, Morrisville, and Moxville. Visit littleshaverswoodshop.com. That's LILShaverswoodshop.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Dobie from North Main Financial Group. We're blessed at North Main Financial Group that most of our clients come to us by referral. When folks have a good experience with us, they share that good experience with their friends, family, and colleagues. In doing so, when we're sitting with folks, then we're looking at their financial plan and seeing if it aligns with their goals and their desires for what yet lies ahead, be it college, be it retirement, or be it estate planning. If that sounds of interest to you, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com.
It's We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vickie Sawyer on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. Like to be part of our show, 844 Studio 4. We are also streaming live on the WSIC News Facebook page as well as on YouTube. So
wait, we're out of YouTube jail, right? So
yes, we did get out of YouTube jail.
I was wondering if you and Robbie may have tipped the scales last
week.
You know,
and we
put us back in,
I confirmed you and I did not chip the scales the week before. That I think that was going to be a bigger concern than me and Robbie. And I just always assumed that we could end up there off of Jeff McNeely's show at any point.
Okay.
I just feel like Representative McNeely's show is that's just a YouTube jail waiting to happen. Facebook jail, YouTube jail, but we love Representative McNeely. Just joking, but we absolutely do. He's fantastic. I do. I think he's awesome. But no, we were talking. So one thing we talked about last week when you called into the show was the General Assembly remains undefeated on veto overrides. Now we have another what appears to be soon to be veto override. Two bills. First bill to talk about the election bill.
Wait a minute. So Governor Cooper didn't call it the election bill. What did he call it? So he did this big 3-minute video on YouTube. In fact, that video should be in YouTube jail if I were a person of that was able to strike something from the internet. But it was horrible to hear what he said. It was horrible.
Well, and the whole thing about it is that it plays into the I guess the standard, right? Of that, anything related to elections, anything Republicans do related to elections is an attack on minorities. It is an attack on young people. It is an attack on kittens and puppies and all, they're just evil people. And in that video, he said, if you're young, Republicans don't want you to vote.
Not true.
Well, I mean, not true. We want you to be 18.
Fair.
Fair. You should be 18 to vote. If you're in college, Republicans don't want you to vote. Not true. We just want to make sure you're not voting from college and back in your home and at home.
Yeah.
And if you're black or brown, Republicans don't want you to vote. And it's like in a lot of this stuff, as you mentioned, the bill primarily deals with shoring up issues around absentee ballots.
Correct. And in voter rolls, I mean, quite frankly, there are issues where we have folks who are fraudulently on the voter rolls, and we've got to clean those kind of things up. But let's go into the absentee ballot thing. North Carolina has one of the most liberal voting policies in any state. I mean, for the love of God, 17 days of early voting. 17 days. The reason why I know that is because I usually stand outside asking for your vote for 17 days. And that is one of the longest early voting things in across the state. I mean, the absentee ballot, we're asking that you have an actual witness and that witness's signature is legible and that your signature actually matches one that's on file so that you're not fraudulently voting. Treating absentee ballots the same way that you treat a regular vote, that if it is not received before the close of election day, then it doesn't get counted. It's just surprising to me. We currently North Carolina has a 3-day waiting or grace period. So if the ballot is cast and postmarked before election day or on election day, then if it's received within 3 days, and that vote counts. Well, again, I mean, there's you can request an absentee ballot up to 65 days before the election. So if folks know that there's a hard stop on election day for absentee ballots, then they will mail their ballots in earlier or drop them off. But, if I show up to the polls at 8 p.m. on election day and want to vote, I don't vote. Yes. I don't get to vote because the election and polls are closed. This is all not some, Governor Cooper had mentioned some kind of right-wing Trump conspiracy stuff. Not at all. I think that this voting is the most important thing and we have to make sure that we have laws that ensure that your and my vote counts. And that means votes of everybody, even young folks, and folks who have black and brown faces and white faces, and not your dog or your cat. We're sorry, we are discriminating against four-legged animals from voting.
Yes, you are, and
so
you're
I will
horrible for it.
I will own up to that because I know Maggie would love to be able to vote for Nikki Haley in the primary.
Maggie absolutely would cast her ballot for Nikki Haley.
Yes,
no
she
doubt
would.
About it.
Yes, Maggie, if you don't know, is the Coble's beautiful dog, and
English bulldog, and she's awesome.
And she's
Margaret
awesome.
Thatcher Coble. That is what it says on her certificate.
It does not.
Yes, it does. does. That is
What
her
is
full
your
name.
fascination with
Margaret
female?
Thatcher. I like strong women in leadership. Well, you got a problem with that? You got a problem with that? Obviously, you do.
I do not.
Jealous much?
I think maybe I am.
Vickie, you're not my only strong woman in leadership that I appreciate. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just fishing for a compliment.
You are the only one I've done a radio show with. Though.
Okay, good.
Not that I wouldn't bolt in a second for Nikki Haley, but with you, it's like But I tell you, I think folks, you just witnessed the little green monster come out of Senator Sawyer there. I tell you what.
I mean, you're gushing about Nikki Haley, and your dog is named after Margaret Thatcher. I mean,
well, if you'd like, my next one could be named Vickie Lynn. How about that?
No.
See, then it's not a compliment, right? It's not a compliment then. So you should just stop now. People are seeing your ugly side to you right now. I'm sorry, folks. She's much nicer than this. I promise.
Okay, so I'm sorry for Margaret Thatcher Coble that she will not be able to vote. So yes, we are discriminatory against people who aren't registered and who aren't legal, but we just need to make sure that every vote counts. And it's so surprising to me. I mean, David, you know, just like I do, how much time, energy, and money that we as electeds put into elections. It's a big deal. We raise money, we spend money, we put our name, we put our family, we put everything on the line to win an election. So it is so important for us, either Republican or Democrat, to make sure that we have a fair and free and valid election system. So if I had a magic wand, I mean, if I was like Margaret Thatcher cool, I would do
passive aggressive.
I love it. Yeah, I know. That's what happens when I don't show prep. But I would absolutely have one day of voting, like New York. I mean, make it a national holiday, and everyone goes and votes on that one day, and that's what we do. I do feel like, folks who cast their ballot the first day of early voting, and there's 17 days of early voting, then plus, so basically 20 days until the deadline of the election, after all is said and done, something could happen. Mm-hmm. Like Trump could get arrested,
and we've seen things like that happen where candidates' criminal records have come out the day before the election or the day of the election, and people have already voted, and these people get elected. But here's what I understand the reasoning behind the governor's statement: young people, college kids, black or brown people. They don't. Republicans don't want you to vote, and that's when you look at what's in this bill. We have said, okay, there's 17 days of early voting. Why is it that Democrats believe those segments of people are incapable of planning their schedules to go and vote within that 17 days?
It is insulting, right?
It is. We have 65 days to request an absentee ballot. Why do Democrats believe that group of people is incapable of, within that time frame, requesting an absentee ballot and mailing it back by election day?
Right.
Why is it that they believe that group of people is incapable, for example, of getting an ID, or not already having an ID, but even if they don't, incapable of going to their local Board of Elections office to get a free ID that is now good for the next 10 years?
Right.
Why is it that Democrats believe they must nursemaid these segments of our society through elections? Mm-hmm. Nobody ever talks about that. It's like, look, it's insulting to this group of people that the Democrats believe you are so incompetent as you cannot plan your schedule, get an ID, or request an absentee ballot and get it in on time.
Yeah.
Right? It's ridiculous.
I listen a lot to Candace Owens, and she's on Daily Wire, and another strong female. I'm sure. Are you a fan? Do you know who that is?
Well, I feel like I should say no, because if I say yes, then you're going to go after her. But I have listened, and I enjoy what she says. Periodically, maybe.
I'm kidding. No. But Candace Owen actually, and I think Larry Elders actually speak to this point about this, and actually before those two, economist Thomas Sowell, who, if you've not read any of his works, I strongly encourage you to do that. They call it the Democratic plantation. And it's this mind thought that the folks are too stupid to think for themselves, that the Democrats have to come in there and take care of them. And it is just insulting. I mean, it is absolutely insulting to tell a certain group of people that they're incapable of getting an ID.
Yep.
They're incapable of voting on time. And then they mask that actual, for me, that's the true racism. And when they masked that and veiled it by calling Republicans racist. So they basically, the accuser is committing the crime. And so, yes, I am a Republican, I'm a strong Republican, and I want everybody to vote, and I want everybody's vote to count.
Yeah, and they hope that everyone who listens to that kind of stuff is too unintelligent to recognize the game that they're playing.
Absolutely.
You're listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio. We'll be right back.
There's more We're Just Saying with NC Senator Vickie Sawyer on the way from the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing at Kane Center for the Arts Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 fall season. Buy your tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Happy birthday, Huntersville! Celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday this Saturday. Primal in Huntersville will have live music, food trucks, and special deals all day on August 26th. Huntersville is 150 years old, and you should celebrate at Primal off of Highway 115 in Huntersville. It is one of the last couple of weeks to enjoy open swim at the Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Thursday, August 31st is the end of the swim season at Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Swim up an appetite with the whole family and enjoy Kerrigan Farms farm-to-table restaurant. Kerrigan Farms open swim at the quarry. Enjoy it before the end of August. Love cycling? Love supporting veterans? Purple Heart Homes presents Take That Hill. Sign-ups are open now. The event is Saturday, October 7th. It is a great way to support a local organization focused on veterans. Take That Hill, presented by Purple Heart Homes. For more info, visit bikesignup.com. Eli Yacinth Band is playing this Friday, August 25th at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Enjoy a great show with a full 9-person band. Have a full night of jazz music with the Eli Yacinth Band, Friday night at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Holly Vale with your WSIC forecast. Mostly sunny today with a high near 94 and heat index values as high as 102. We'll have a slight chance of showers for this evening with partly cloudy skies and a low around 73. Mostly sunny and hot for Saturday with a high near 95 and heat index values as high as 103. Possibility of showers for Saturday night with a low around 70. I'm Holly Vale from WSIC's Weather Center.
Now, more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vickie Sawyer on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Yeah. We're grooving here on We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie Sawyer, WSIC News Radio. Welcome back. Like to be part of our show, 844 Studio 4. Also still live on the WSIC News Facebook page and YouTube. Coming out of the break, Senator Sawyer continued her railing, this time about her microphone being too low to the ground. So it's been a rough day here at Studio C. See us for Coble. Thank you.
God, so funny. You know who else we're going to try to have a rough day with?
What's that?
Homeowners Association.
Homeowners associations. For all you people out there who love your homeowners association, you might want to change the channel because there's some serious work going on around HOAs down in Raleigh right now.
There are. So, David, do you love your homeowners association?
My homeowners association are lovely people who I have no concerns with, and actually, I do have a good homeowners association.
Yeah.
Now, the neighborhood that I came from, the homeowners association was a source of, it was a battle. It was a battle in my previous neighborhood with homeowners associations. The one I have in my neighborhood right now, I very much appreciate. They do a good job. Our volunteer board does a good job, primarily because they pretty much leave everybody alone.
Yeah.
And which I like. They make sure that the grounds are kept neat. They make sure that people's trash cans are put up when they should be, which I have no problem with, and largely leave, organize some nice events for the community and just try to keep out of everybody's way.
Yeah.
That's the kind of HOA I appreciate, though that is becoming the anomaly these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've also seen, or to me, is almost like the fourth layer of government. It's like you get the feds, the states, the cities, and now HOAs. And the HOAs surprisingly have a lot of power and can actually foreclose on your home.
Yes, if you have not paid your HOA dues, they can actually come in and file foreclosures. And in some states, thankfully not in North Carolina, HOAs. This was a big problem. When I worked in banking during the mortgage crisis in 08 and 09. We were in the default servicing world on mortgages, and in some states, primarily most of them up north, they were called what they called super lien states, which basically meant first one to the courthouse wins. And so one of the leading indicators of that you were getting ready to get foreclosed on or probably weren't paying your mortgages, you weren't paying your HOA dues.
Yes.
And so these HOAs would get to the courthouse first, and their lien would supersede the mortgage on the home. And at which point, when the bank came to try to go through foreclosure and everything like that, the HOA had beat them there, and what you basically the banks would have to pay the house off, essentially pay the own mortgage on it to the HOAs in order to claim the house.
Yeah.
And it was, it is a problem, but in North Carolina, they have, HOAs have a basically taxing authority in the sense of and HOA dues have the ability to foreclose policy documents and things like that. Some are a little more, generous, or I won't say generous, but a little tougher to pass things like that. Some have HOA boards, but we have seen HOA boards where people are being prosecuted for embezzlement of funds and things like that. So obviously there's some problems, but there's a couple of bills I think floating around. What are some of the things y'all are specifically looking to address?
Yeah, so it's just that, about the overzealousness of some organizations to lien your property based on perceived infractions or fines. So it's not just if you don't pay your HOA fees, it's if, you construct a outbuilding that isn't directly lined up with the sight line and you didn't get a variance from the HOA, and then every day that you don't, move that building, you get a fine of $50, something, how that, and those fines can rack up. And so actually there was a woman here locally, actually in Lake Wiley, who just won a lawsuit against her homeowners association who had levied about $12,000 in fines against her.
Wow.
And you're just stuck. I mean, the HOAs are their own thiefdom, I guess you could say, or kingdom. Let's call it kingdom. And if you do have an out of control HOA, you just really are in a miserable spot.
Oh, you really are. And one of the interesting things, the neighborhood that I came from previously was interesting because there was a lot of battles with the HOA, and I actually joined the HOA later on after a number of the battles were done to try to clean up a little bit of the mess.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really interesting about it is how quickly those things devolve in are just based off disputes between neighbors that don't like each other.
Right.
The constant phone calls of, their tree is over here on my property, their trash can is not screened appropriately. And, a lot of these violations, stuff like that, become a weapon of people in the neighborhood that don't like you in order to report and everything and to cause additional trouble. So it's very difficult in those kind of situations to be able to ensure that the HOA stays on course and it doesn't become a weapon for neighbors, Hatfields and McCoys inside your neighborhood.
Yeah. So we had a very, very physically violent neighbor that moved into an old neighborhood that we were in, and we did not have an HOA, and I kind of wish I had one because then we'd have some kind of mediation through there. But so I just suggest that if you are in a situation where you have a violent neighbor, move.
Yeah.
Life is just not worth dealing with people like that.
Yeah,
So.
Life is way too short for things like that. People certainly want to weaponize the HOA.
I know.
And again, I appreciate I don't want a rusted out car. The things that make sure that my property is not devalued, right? Because in most HOAs, you are closer proximity with your homes.
Right.
A lot of that makes total sense, but as we see with anything, absolute power corrupts absolutely,
Yeah,
right?
I know, I know.
And some people get their big heads.
Yes, like the Northmen from Richmond. Or wait, I just said
It
that
just
wrong.
all
The
circles
Richmond
back, doesn't it?
It all is going to circle back.
The rich
to Oliver,
men north of Richmond.
Yes, absolutely.
All roads lead back to that
to
song.
Oliver Anthony.
Apparently. Well, at the time we've got left, though, budget. Obviously,
let's go budget.
What's going? Is week of September 11th is
That's what I
last
hear.
we've heard for a vote.
Right. I'm ready. I was goofing. I was goofing around on the show I did last week. PBS on PBS. It's called State Line.
The TV show.
The TV show. Stop.
the television show that you were on last week and not here, talking to your constituents.
And but the joke that I made is true. Is like, man, one of the toughest bills that we have done as a state is the abortion bill. That abortion bill was also led by females. That was one and done.
Why are you attacking women?
And
why are all you females attacking
but
women?
When it had to deal with one of the most controversial, tough bills that women led, it was done and done and done, right? And we got it over with. And now we're sitting there waiting on these men to get the budget passed. And I'm like, come on, guys. Let's get us women at the table. And you know what? We'll hash it out. I mean, there'll be a little bit of cat fighting, but that's okay. That's what we do, and we get it done. So what I'm saying is I should be a budget writer. That's what I'm thinking.
See, I think it would be an amazing test case.
Yeah.
Obviously, it probably would never play politically.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be an amazing test case to segment out the male budget writer legislators, the female budget writer legislators, and let you all come around to a budget and like that, and see basically who won. And by one, who brought the best, least contentious thing, who had negotiated things and got it good where everybody could get behind it. It would be an interesting case study in politics to see how that shook out.
Yeah,
now, speaking as a man, I don't think that we would want that. I feel like we would probably come out on the worst. Here's what would happen in that situation. You all would go in and have a really thoughtful, deep, thing like that. Guys, in order just to make sure we won, would throw together whatever was necessary to make it one. Just because we don't want to lose to the women. Forget the consequences. Forget who's getting money like that. It's like we just want to win. So we're going to throw together a budget that makes sure we win.
Yeah.
You all will put thought, effort, and everything like that into it. We'd be like, no, we just want to win. We'll fix it. We'll fix the rest later.
Yeah, I know. I think diversity of thought is always healthy, and I kid and joke around about our male counterparts. But the budget is nothing new. So if you even look back into history in Democratic times, about 40% of the time they got the budget on time, but 60% of the time, and back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. They didn't get the budget on time. So this isn't a Republican or a Democrat issue. I think it's a process issue. It is very eye-opening to me how government actually does the budgeting. I feel like we should really do deeper dives into agency budgets to see where the money is. There's things that's called reoccurring expenses. And so you and I know in our own life, when you have your insurance bill that gets drafted out of your account, thank you, Coble, for supporting my shoe habit.
I have direct experience with that, as a matter of fact.
You don't feel it, right? Because it's a recurring expense, or it's coming and you don't look at it as well as you should. And the same thing happens in the state budget. So, I really would love to be able to go all the way down and go back to zero-based budgeting and dive into it. But that would be that female thing that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. Well, and being deliberative is important. We want deliberative budget writing and everything like that. Matter of fact, I was just reminded via text that I am scheduled to have a lunch meeting with one of said male budget writers who also has a show on this radio network.
Yes,
and I have a feeling that some of the things that I was hoping to see in this budget may just all of a sudden been vetoed out. I may not be making it into the final draft. So thanks a lot, Senator Sawyer. I appreciate it.
Oh, that is too funny. No, I mean, that's what I said. Again, I think it's just the process. It's not the people. I don't put it or lay blame on any of those folks because, again, under Democratic controlled General Assembly, they did not get the budget in on time or before July 1. And it is tough. I mean, there's $32 billion.
Well, but 60% of the time, they got it in every time.
No, well, I mean, but $32 billion, that's a lot.
Wow, just completely, wow. You get on me, right, zing. The male people in our audience know exactly where that reference was. Little Anchorman playoff there.
Oh, was it really?
You get on me for not knowing rich men from Richmond, but you don't know Anchorman? Wow.
I do not know Anchorman.
Of the two of us that have been the biggest disappointment for this show, you just passed me. I'm just sorry. You just passed me.
That's funny. No, but I mean, going back to that, I mean, and it is tough. There's a lot of personalities, a lot of back and forth between the House and the Senate, different ideas. But at the end of the day, they always come through and they get it done. So they say the September 11th will be, or the week of the September 11th is what's coming out. And, you got to think about it. Once Chairman Sayin and those folks get their stuff finalized, it takes at least 7 days for the folks in the back of the House to actually plug in all the numbers, get the budget going, go to OSPM, and get it out. So they're working hard. It's not that they're sitting up there just twiddling their thumbs. They are actually working very hard to get things resolved.
Oh, yeah. Well, and nobody wants to be in Raleigh any longer than they have to be.
Yeah.
A lot of these folks really love to be home
yes,
with their families,
absolutely.
actually talking to their constituents and being able to do things. Maybe not all their constituents, but a certain segment of them. Back in Raleigh next week?
Yes. I'll be up there for a couple days and get some stuff done. So,
all right,
yeah.
great. Well, it was great being back with you this
Sir,
week. And thank you, everybody, for listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio. Have a great, safe weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you.
The new 105.9, 100.7